Hey, welcome back here to the Central PA Pour. You can see Mr. Kevin's going again.
Yep.
But Dave is sitting off to my right. You
Yep.
are left as you're sitting there viewing it. So, again, we're going to put this out there. Where is Kevin?
Yeah. Where is Kevin?
I think they actually both went away this time.
Yeah. They're
out to the West Coast from what he said.
Somewhere out west, turning a business trip into a business plus
Pleasure.
vacation.
Yeah. Hey, if you can do it, do it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
While we're recording this, we just completed Brew Kids on the Block 2024. We had a great time again, Nerf battle and all.
Yeah, I don't know what next year is going to bring, but they had enough Nerf darts down here flying through the air. Just
you had to keep your head on a swivel.
Absolutely.
That's if you don't know what it is, you make sure you look it up. Brew Kids on the Block for next year and get your tickets and get out there. And speaking of that, make sure you give us a like wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube. That helps us. We enjoy doing what we're doing and bringing you new stories and about the craft scene in the Central PA area and beyond.
Yeah. We don't stay in our own backyard anymore.
No, we don't.
This
is what makes this industry fun. It's a community, and it's not just here; it's everywhere, and we're glad to be part of it. So we hope you enjoy the content we do bring out. We do got some new content that we got some ideas this past weekend on, so keep an eye on for that. But right now, we do have a guest that we are going to bring on here, and we are happy to have her in studio. Let's welcome Erin Hafke.
Hey, good job.
Did I say that right?
You did, Hafke, yeah.
And you are with Feeding PA, but you're here representing Hops and Vines for Hunger, which we participated in last year. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Erin.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast, so this is exciting. I'm an avid listener, I guess, a long-time listener, first-time caller. So a little about myself. I am the community relations manager at Feeding Pennsylvania, and we are the statewide membership association of Feeding America food banks. So there are 9 Feeding America food banks within the state of Pennsylvania, and they cover all 67 counties. So the work that we do with our member food banks affects every county in the Commonwealth. It's just not just the food bank in your backyard, and we are there to help advocate for anti-hunger and resources, and also to supply them with any additional support they may need.
Wow,
super!
So I'm going to back up here. You're an avid listener of our program.
Oh, avid listener of podcasts. I'm so sorry. I have listened though. I have listened to this podcast.
Then you know what you're in for when you come on here with us, right?
Oh yeah.
Now we were, I forget how we made that connection last year. I'm not sure if it was Ben that hooked us up with it, and we reached out to participate, and we were glad to help do what we could, even though we do, they're recorded and released at certain times. So we definitely tried to help promote them. We hope we made a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, honestly, in our work in the space of trying to end hunger, there's kind of a big misconception that to help the cause, you have to do something big and you have to go all out or raise all of this money on your own or donate all of these goods or volunteer every Saturday. And that's just not true. Like, obviously those things are awesome. But everybody, no matter who you are, where you are, can contribute something. So we appreciate any effort anybody puts into helping to support our neighbors who are facing food insecurity, no matter how big, no matter how small. Something that seems small to you might be big to others. So we really appreciate your guys' support, and we're excited to have you guys on again for this year.
Yeah, so speaking of that, how did last year's program go about? I mean, I think you said this is like the 3rd year of doing the Hops and Vines, or the 4th year.
This would be year 1, 2, 3, 4.
4. Mm-hmm. And how did the program do last year? Do you have any of those numbers?
Sure. Yeah, I do. So in 2023, I took some notes here just so I got specific numbers for you. We had 36 participating businesses, and those businesses are all across the state, and they include breweries, wineries, fermenteries, and cideries. Pretty much, if you can brew it, we'd love to have you on. I know in the past we've had kombucha breweries as well, so we are open to any kind of brewer. And we had 13 participating content creators, of which Central PA Pour was one. And we had a matching sponsor last year.
Oh,
So
that's
that was
awesome.
really great. Yeah, and they're very excited about this year too. We have some things in the works that I can't divulge just yet, but it is very exciting. So our matching sponsor is a longtime supporter of Feeding Pennsylvania, and that is PSECU. We love working with them. So they decided to match all of the funds that were raised and donate that on top of the raised funds. So all of our businesses together raised $16,732.
Well,
And then Central
to that.
PA4 matched that. Yeah, cheers.
Kudos to you guys and everybody that participated, and kudos to PSECU
Yep.
for matching the funds. So I'm going to drink to that.
Cheers
here.
with my water.
That's awesome. And like you said back towards it earlier, you said every little bit helps. What might seem small to us is a huge impact for those who are less fortunate and don't have that. And every little bit will help. You know, I try and do as much as I can through my business to help veterans. There is an outreach program here called New Hope Ministries, so we help and support that as much as possible. So I'm glad to have you on here. We're glad to participate in any way we can last year and going forward. So you said you were going to change the program, but before we get into that, where did this idea come from?
This idea came from my predecessor, actually. So before I even knew I was going to end up in the nonprofit world, my predecessor, her name is Corinne Foster. She is also on the side a content creator, and her handle is Foster the Foodie. She does a lot of Central PA stuff. So to kind of marry her job as community relations manager and her love of Central PA and food and beer, she created this campaign, which was originally just Hops for Hunger and breweries. And then the second year expanded it to Hops and Vines. So she kind of created that as a way to help fundraise, but also to bring some of her loves together. And she is still in the anti-hunger space, and she does help to support us and stuff. But when I came on board at Feeding PA, I took this over as taking over that role, and I am just trying to help grow the program and obviously grow all of the funds that we are able to receive through this program, and also to support all of those small owned businesses. And this also, I'm pretty sure this came out of quarantine and COVID, when everybody saw, hey, these small businesses are really struggling because a lot of people couldn't go out. So it was a way of encouraging people to support shopping small businesses, even if they couldn't go out and drink a beer. Maybe order a case of something, and then $1 from each case goes to the fundraiser or what have you. So I personally love that this fundraiser is helping so many different people at the same time, that it is going directly to our food banks. It's also part of that donation is also going to our partner, who is PA Eats. They're another nonprofit. And what they do with those funds is create nutrition resources for us. That there's a great series that they do called Nourish PA, where they develop recipes from ingredients that are commonly found in food pantries across the state. And each recipe costs $6 or less to make. And they're very, I would say, like, they're very simple. They're very beginner friendly, but they taste great. And we have literally hundreds of recipes from them through that program. And then, you're also helping those small businesses to thrive and just kind of cultivate this community bond even more. I'm not a big beer person. I love everybody who works in beer. I just personally, I guess I don't have as good of a palate as everybody else, but something I've always really appreciated about the craft beer community is the community part. And they are so supportive of so many great causes, not only in the state, but in the country. And we are just very privileged to be able to be a part of that community through this fundraiser.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you do this all the time, or did you have a background in this
I didn't have a background in this at all. So I actually have dual degrees. I have a degree in opera performance and music ed. And I taught middle school music for 6.5 years in southeastern York County. And I was just looking to transition out of teaching, and I wanted to get into another job or a career where I knew my time was going towards something good. We spend so much of our lives working, and I want to be able to enjoy that time, but also I want that time for me to mean something to somebody else. And I think that's what drew me to teaching in the first place. And I'm just kind of taking that energy and putting it in a slightly different box. So I was, interviewed for this position and was hired based off of the fact that I had to fundraise for my music programs. And that's part of this job as well, being really organized. I saw every single kid in the school every year I was there. I knew their usually first, middle, last names, knew their parents, like just the level of detail that goes into this is something that I happen to do in my last job, and there just happened to be a lot of crossover. But I'm really passionate about using my time to make my community a better place. So this was a great fit.
So instead of making every dollar count, you're making every hour count.
I like to think both.
Yeah. I tell you what, I could just sitting here, just listening to you, you'd love what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And so you haven't worked a day in your life since you came to Feeding Pennsylvania, because if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
That's true. And I loved teaching, and I love certain aspects of teaching, but it's really easy to get burnt out, especially in the position that I had, is that I was the only music teacher in my school for those 2 grades in the entire district. So, if you want anything done, you're going to do it. Nobody else is there to help you or support you with that. So it's easy to be overwhelmed in that situation, even if you do love your job and you love the people that you work with. With this position here, I am very supported by my team members, by our CEO. I get to try a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats. I love learning new things all the time. So I have like graphic design under my belt. I manage the website on here, just things that I've never done that I got to teach myself, which is really cool to add to my toolkit.
So you say you have a dual degree.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to sing a little opera for us?
I wasn't planning on it, and I'll probably blow out this mic.
I think that's cool. Have you done any opera plays or anything like that, or is that just something was something you loved?
Well, when I went into college, I did not love opera whatsoever. And it was kind of a thing where I loved the professors that I was going to get to work with. I knew that, if there's one thing that I love, it's singing. So I'm going to go and do that. But I wasn't super versed in the type of singing that was taught at the school that I went to. So it was a little bit of a rude awakening to how I typically sang, and just learned to love it. So I've been in quite a few operas and theater, musical theater productions and plays, a bunch of different bands. And I was that kid in high school that I was in every band and musical group possible. I taught myself how to play however many instruments. I love to figure out how things work and then teach myself how to do them. Like when I was 12, I picked up the trombone because I thought it just sounded fun, and taught myself how to play it in like a month.
Damn.
My little brother didn't love that though, because when he was getting on my nerves, I'd hit him with the slide. But
That's
hey, I'm
pretty-
like, if you didn't annoy me, this wouldn't happen.
yeah,
Hi, Nick. Sorry.
yeah. You should have him tune in just for that part.
He's
Yeah.
a big beer guy, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
I looked at Dave because Dave's the musician here. Dave
really?
plays the bands as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he sang opera.
No.
No. I sing, but it's in the shower, so nobody else but my wife can hear it. And when I come out and she's got earmuffs on, I know I did very good.
Well, my dad always said, make a joyful noise. And it doesn't matter what that noise sounds like, as long as you're happy doing it, that works. He's just like, your noise just sounds prettier than mine.
Yeah.
And I heard that in the pastor's sermon this morning or yesterday on Sunday. So make joyful noise.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Doesn't have to be pretty. Just noise.
And what you're kind of doing with the Feeding Pennsylvania and this Hops and Vines and all the other activities and fundraisers you're doing, you are kind of making a joyful noise for others to enjoy.
We're trying, and we're trying to get the word out in as many ways as possible, and that's one reason we really appreciate your support, is that you're literally getting the word out on so many different platforms, and also to kind of educate folks in the state of food insecurity in Pennsylvania and what that really looks like, because I think a lot of the times we might have a distorted view of what hunger looks like, or of what someone experiencing food insecurity looks like, or what they've gone through. But in reality, a lot of us are just one paycheck away, or one injury away, or death of a family member away from having to utilize SNAP benefits or go to your local pantry to get some support. And I think we all know right now inflation is really hammering a lot of us, and a lot of us are living paycheck to paycheck. And as far as food insecurity in Pennsylvania goes, 1 in 8 people face hunger, and 1 in 6 kids lives in a food insecure household. So as a former teacher, when I think 1 in 6, if I have a classroom of, let's say, 30 kids, that's a handful.
Yeah, you're almost like a third of it. You know, not maybe like a quarter of it. That's got to be living on hunger,
or and that's just the average too. Like there could be more, there could be less, depending on where you are. I know in the district that I used to teach in, we had a school that was in an area that was considered by the government impoverished in a way that everybody got free breakfast and lunch regardless of your status. And once I got those kids in the middle school, depending on the kids in my class, it could easily be half. When I taught, I supervised breakfast every morning, and out of a school of, I would say, let's say 400 kids, we would easily get at least 150 kids eating breakfast every morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as those kids get older, that are, and you mentioned where the economy is, and most families are living paycheck to paycheck. $100 in a grocery store is not getting you a hell of a lot right now.
Nope.
They may try and hide it as much as possible and not take that free lunch, or go to that special area where they, making them look like, hey, I can't afford this, so I got to buy the given meal. And that's what's sad about where we're at as a whole. It's sad where we're at as a world, because it's not just here, it's everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a stigma that a lot of people still live with and are affected by. Obviously, it's something that is so prevalent that we shouldn't judge anybody for being in that situation, but it's there for those people who are experiencing food insecurity. So actually, something that's great that I know the education system in Pennsylvania is taking on is that in breakfast throughout the Commonwealth, there are certain places throughout different schools that anybody can go and get breakfast, and you wouldn't know, who is getting it for free and who's not. And it's just everybody goes to breakfast and everybody eats breakfast. It's not just because you're there because you have to be.
That's,
And
that's been an opinion of mine a lot, that I think that it should be free to every child, and everyone should go in and be able to do it. And it's not because of, the money or anything that's involved with it. I just think that because we are in a country that I would say that, food is plenty, because I look at what is wasted, thrown away, not farmed, thrown away by farmers because they can't get the price on it. And I listened to that stuff, and I said, wait a minute, you're throwing away this, you're dumping this milk because you want to get the price up. So you did, and you have children that are starving that would just love to have that milk that you're dumping down the drain. I've seen that. I've seen them dump it, and it's just sad. And I think that we should have something set up that everybody should get the food.
Well, I'm going to plug two things for a second. One, talking about the milk situation, we actually have a charitable milk program through Feeding Pennsylvania. That is the nation's first charitable milk program that was started at the farm show in 2015. It's called Fill a Glass with Hope, and you can find it on our website at feedingpa.org underneath the programs. And we work with the American Dairy Association Northeast and the PA Dairymen's Association. You may know them as the milkshake people at the farm show. We work with them to raise funds that go to our food banks. Then our food banks go to local milk processors. They are all local in Pennsylvania to their region. And they actually get a discounted rate on the milk from those processors. And they use the funds from the program to buy that milk and then give the milk away to our neighbors facing food insecurity. And milk is one of the highest requested items in pantries across the state, if not the nation. I know the state for sure. And an issue we often have with milk too is that we don't think about it because we just put it in our fridge when we buy it. But actually having refrigerated space in pantries is sometimes hard to find, that people can actually store that milk at those pantries. But take a look at Fill a Glass with Hope. That's another campaign that we have to raise funds all year round. Second, when you're talking about, we are a very food abundant country, and you are absolutely right. A very large percentage of food in our country gets wasted, and you would be shocked to see all of the reasons that grocery stores will turn away food product at the grocery store as it's getting loaded off the semi trucks for whatever reasons. Like it's the wrong shape. And it's the same food. It tastes exactly the same, but right. I can't tell you how many calls I get from trucking companies who are like, we just had this load refused. Can we donate it? And obviously our answer to that is, absolutely yes. But we are working in food recovery, and that is becoming a big movement, is recovering food that is just as edible and just as in high quality, but that would typically get wasted for whatever reason that might be. And there's a plethora of reasons, but that being one of them.
I know when our riding club, so I'd mentioned New Hope Ministries earlier on, our church was a big component of the local area here. I got my riding club involved with them when they were expanding to different areas, like in Hanover and that stuff. And we would donate our time every Saturday morning for them to run their food pantry. And what was nice about the food pantry at New Hope is they just didn't walk up and they hand them food. It was like a grocery thing. They could come in and shop for what they wanted to take. And the new building they got, they had the storage to keep the cold stuff. So that was a plus.
That's awesome.
And they get truckloads of either refused or it was the shelf date was just about to expire. So instead of letting it go waste, they donate it. Unfortunately, you got to get some of that stuff turned around pretty quick so it doesn't go bad. But it was an eye-opening experience, and it makes you feel good when you can help others that are less fortunate than you. And I like that idea that they could come in and actually pick the food and go through the grocery store, the pantry, and pick what they wanted instead of us handing them a bag and say, here you go.
Mhm. Yeah, that is something called the choice model in pantries. Our organization also runs the Pennsylvania Healthy Pantry Initiative, which Megan Greavy, my colleague and friend, runs that program, and they try to integrate that model of choice of people can choose what they pick from the pantries because they will have certain ingredients that they love cooking with or things that they don't like eating. Like imagine just getting handed a bag and half of it you're like, I can't eat this because I have this certain dietary restriction or I just don't like this, and then that's going to go to waste unless you eat it. But they're really trying to hype up the choice model because it is very similar to our experience in going into a grocery store. The Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank has an awesome pantry. It's sponsored by Giant. It literally looks like a Giant. It's attached to their food bank. And when you go in, it looks just like a grocery store, but it's their pantry. And it emulates that experience of going to the grocery store because something we really believe in is not only food access, but food access with dignity. You don't want to feel like you're going somewhere and begging for something and somebody's taking pity on you and just giving you a bag of food, right? That's not dignified, because again, like nobody should be treated any better than anybody else depending on the situation that you're in. So that option of choice and also the option of feeling like you are welcomed or you are in a grocery store having the similar experience that maybe you had before you were facing food insecurity really helps you to feel more human. And that's something we're really trying to uplift, is the humanity in the food insecurity space, because a lot of people speak about our neighbors facing food insecurity as like the less fortunate or the needy. And you notice in both of those phrases, there is not the word people. There is not the word human. There's no word denoting that that person is a person. It's just kind of relegating yourself to one small little box that we all have, unfortunately, like a negative association with. So we talk about people facing food insecurity as our neighbors because they're literally our neighbors. Again, 1 in 8 people in Pennsylvania right now are facing food insecurity. You can put that into context as thinking about that in places that you frequent, like maybe in a church. How many people are usually in your congregation? If you do the math, what does that look like? Or in certain clubs that you're in, or what have you. And obviously, that's an average, but it's 1.5 million people in the state are facing food insecurity, and they just don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
Hey, Dave, I'm your neighbor and I'm facing a beer insecurity. Can you help me out and fill my fridge? I had to throw a little joke. Sorry, Erin.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I probably could. There's beer in my fridge that belongs to you. That goes back. A couple weeks ago.
I think my beer's probably been over there since last year.
Yeah.
That's okay. We have beer in our extra bathtub right now. So yeah, we moved from a place that had an attic. Now we do not have an attic, which means you need to make up storage, and our storage is our extra bathtub. So my partner's brother-in-law, huh?
You keep your beer in the attic?
Just the stuff you can't fit in the fridge or the bar cart. So my partner's brother-in-law owns a beer distributor. So we often get free beer of choice, which is great. But then when you have a lot of extra, you don't know where to put it. So it just ends up in the tub.
Erin, I will give you my address.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is. Or depending where you're at, I will come and get it.
Okay.
Or I'll pick it up.
I was telling my partner, I was like, "Are we gonna go through this beer? Like, when are?" He's like, "Oh, we're gonna drink it eventually." And I was like, "We just gotta get out of the bathtub."
So in the beginning, you said about with this hops and vines, if you brew it, you're if you brew it, I'll drink it. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
If you brew it, I'll drink it. And actually, I brew my own too. So
yeah, that's true.
We kind of dabble a little bit and just do little small batches.
I heard that gets dangerous. Like, isn't it with the pressure that it can just explode stuff?
No, well,
Oh,
I
okay.
had back early on. We
Like
had
fermenting.
we had a kit beer that kind of failed, and I had
Yeah.
some bottle bombs. But
Oh,
no, I'm doing my own recipes in kegging now. So the one I just put on 2 weeks ago is almost gone already. It was a
What?
strawberry rhubarb cream ale.
I love strawberry rhubarb.
Oh,
You'd like, even though you said you don't like drink, I
like
believe you
I
could
love
like.
it in a pie.
I only did the rhubarb because I had it. Other than that, I'm not a strawberry rhubarb. I'm a strawberry pie guy, but not a strawberry rhubarb.
Because the rhubarb gets really sour.
That
it can.
Yeah, and it tastes. It looked like fucking celery. So.
Oh yeah. Well, if you don't tame it, it can grow up to like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a couple of patches where the rhubarb was pretty high. When I was a kid, we used to go out and get it. But
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't tell you everything.
Yeah, when I was a kid. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, when I was a kid, we took care of my mom's second cousin, but it was like a surrogate grandma to us. We took care of her lawn. She was in her 90s, and they had wild rhubarb growing in their backyard. So we would just go and cut it down, and she would make us pies, and that would be like our reciprocal relationship.
I run into a lot of people in this area because I almost think it is like a central Pennsylvania Amish thing with the strawberry rhubarb, or it might be just a German thing. But I never liked it. I like the strawberry, but I never liked the strawberry rhubarb. But I think, Erin, you would like this beer. It's smooth and strawberry and very little hint of rhubarb in the back end. But I think even though you're not a beer drinker, I think I could convince you with this one.
Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm always down to try stuff. I also will say that I cannot ingest gluten. So if it has gluten in it, it's a no-go for me. But
then we got to send her to Wolf Brewing.
Yeah.
Then we got to send you to Wolf Brewing. If you want to try gluten-free beer, you got to go up to Wolf Brewing in Mechanicsburg.
Okay, I live very close to Mechanicsburg. And give that a shot.
Most of his stuff is gluten-free.
Oh, God bless. It's so hard to find. Just gluten-free anything in general.
You can tell Derek Wolf if you do go in that the Central PA Pours sent you there. So.
Okay.
Shout out. Plug.
Yeah. I understand because my wife is gluten intolerant. So I know what you go through, and I know what your husband go through. Trying to provide anything on the table for someone who's gluten intolerant sometimes is a little tough. So
I gotta give him his props because for my birthday this year, he spent months trying to come up with the best gluten-free cake recipe he possibly could, and this man made like a 3-tier cake that had what was it, like Italian buttercream on top, and it was stuffed with like lemon curd and raspberry compote, and it was lemon blueberry cake. But literally, the icing on the cake was that he themed it around, at the time, our dog. Now we have 2, but I love my dog so much, and he made it look like her fur because she's brindle, and then all the accents were purple because all the things that she has are purple. So let me tell you, folks, if they wanted to, they would, and they will. So
is he looking for a new partner? Because I'll be glad to come and visit.
He's a good egg.
Yeah,
I have a major sweet tooth, and you could say it's gluten free, but as long as it tastes like a cake and sweet, I'll eat it. I don't care.
He makes also the best brown butter caramel gluten free cookies you've ever had in your life. Nobody knows that they're gluten free. We bring them to every event that we go to. Honey, nobody knows. They're incredible.
I'm gonna send my wife she could he could teach her.
I keep telling him, I was like, you should open a bakery. Our friend has a bakery and she's really talented too. But I'm like, hey, take some tips from her. And we've always tossed it around and it was always kind of a joke. But now I'm like, you really need to do it because all this other gluten-free stuff sucks. So
You can just start creating a YouTube channel and make
a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He's kind of
That's
shy.
how we did.
Maybe
It's-
it could be him. Like, do you remember in the 90s when you had those Weimaraner dogs and then the people's arms like baking stuff? It could be like that, but it would be like my voice, and he would just make stuff.
Or you could use his voice and get the who was the chef from the Muppets?
Oh, the Swedish Chef.
Yes.
Chef.
So our dog is actually named after a Muppet. One of our
Oh,
dogs.
wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
her name is Rizzo because she looks like the rat Rizzo from the Muppets. And we
Oh.
actually found her on a street in Philly in May. And when we were driving down the road, my partner thought that she was a rat. And then as we got closer, I was like, that is a dog. And she was the stinkiest, like, just we had to put our clothes in garbage bags when we got back to our friend's place where we were staying because she was so disgusting. Also, the skinniest dog I've ever seen. I thought I was going to hurt her when I pick her up, but we dropped her off at the shelter at like 11:30 p.m. on a Monday, and then we said, "Hi, when she's good to go, we would like to come take her home." So now we got Rizzo, and she's twice the weight that she was 3 months ago.
Well, she's probably eating all that fucking cake he's making.
Oh, she's not eating cake, but let me tell you, she's eating good because our vet's like, you got to feed them real food like eggs and chicken and vegetables. I was like, would you like to donate to that fund
There
for
you
my
go.
dogs? So expensive.
Well, your vet's a lot different than ours. Ours is like giving us a list of things we're not supposed to feed the dogs, you know.
Well,
And
I
ours-
guess, yeah. Well, and I never fed my dogs people food very much because our other dog, her name is Cindy Lou. She's named after Cindy Lou Who because I got her on Christmas Eve. She's like me. She looks at carbs and she gains 10 pounds. So I can't like give her a bunch of table scraps. But my parents are upset. They don't have grandkids yet, so they treat the dogs at their grandkids. So I'll get a picture from my dad of tiny ice cream bowls for dogs all lined up. Yeah.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves it. Anyway,
So,
can very
we're
off topic. Sorry.
no, and that's
No,
what
this is fun.
that's what this is about.
This is fun.
I think I told you this is just a conversation. Where it goes, it goes.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I'm very good at getting off topic, so I'm sorry, you might have to reel me in sometimes.
And I'm so good at going down the gutter.
Great.
So the hops and vines. I think you and I had talked. There's some changes coming for this year's event.
Mhm.
Is it something you can divulge now? This isn't going out till I think the end of September. Because I think it's when you and I talked about the perfect
Yeah,
time.
beginning of October. But yeah, there are some things that I can definitely divulge. Can't give a lot of details quite yet, but those will be coming very soon, definitely before this podcast is released. So by the time you hear this, we'll have all this information out to you. So as far as changes go, the biggest changes are going to be how businesses can participate. So in the past, businesses could choose however they wanted to participate in any way, shape, or form. And once you start getting upwards of 40 participants involved, that gets a little hard to keep track of and to keep organized. So we still wanted to give businesses choice and the option to choose what is best for their business, their schedule, their model. But we wanted to narrow it down to some options that we think a lot of businesses were doing already, but that will kind of make it easier for us to manage. So there are 4 different ways that businesses can participate. And again, once this is up, we'll have text that you guys can read up on our website. I'm a very visual person, so I know I would want that. But the
.org, you'll have
Yes.
information on there.
up there, there we go.
Up top. And your social media platform.
Yep. We are Hops Vines Hunger PA on Instagram, and we're Hops and Vines for Hunger on Facebook. But the 4 ways that businesses can participate and donate is to designate a Hops and Vines for Hunger drink and donate $1 or more for every drink sold. And that drink can be a drink specially crafted to celebrate Hops and Vines for Hunger, a flagship drink from that particular business, or a seasonal drink. And those are three things that a lot of our businesses have done in the past. And some of them get really excited about like making Hops and Vines specific drinks. So anyway, you can designate $1 or more from each drink sold when you designate that particular beverage. The second way is to designate a Hops and Vines for Hunger flight and donate $1 or more for every flight sold during the month. The third way is to donate a portion of sales during the month from any designated merchandise. I know Yingling has done that in the past. Bitch and Kitten Brewery, shout out, love them, has done that as well. And then the last way that business can participate is to run a roundup campaign. So that is where patrons have the option to round up their tab total to the nearest dollar, or donate $1, $5, or $10 to Hops and Vines for Hunger when paying their tab, or all three. So those are going to be the options that our businesses have to choose from, and we'll have a sign up form, and you can designate that on the sign up form. But that just kind of helps us to keep everything organized, but also gives clearer expectations to our businesses, because sometimes in the past they were faced with the paradox of choices. When you have so many options, you don't know what to do, and then you get overwhelmed. So we're trying to provide choices and options, but kind of give you pathways to go down that are a little bit more structured.
Yep. Now, I think I got feedingpa.org up there, because that's where I find the Hops and Vines. Was that the same thing that they can find, under your way to donate? Okay.
Yeah. So
that's all I have. That's what I got up above, feedingpa.org. So that's where everything is located at.
Yep. When you go to feedingpa.org, as far as a lot of the stuff that we've talked about on this podcast today, if you go to our programs tab, it'll have everything listed. So it will have Fill a Glass with Hope there. It will have the Healthy Pantry Initiative there. It will have Hops and Vines there. So it'll be right there. And also, if you follow us on social media, it's in our Instagram bio, and it's on our Facebook page.
What was the one you gave a shout out? Bitch and Kitten?
Yeah.
That's where are they at?
Oh man, I want to say kind of near Pottsville. I can't quite remember, but the reason that I remember them so well is because they are a family-owned brewery. It's a husband and wife, and now their daughter is involved. She's in college. They came to our closing event at Yingling last year, and they were just really excited about the campaign, and the daughter is trying to find new ways to market their business to her demographic and Gen Z, and they're also very pet friendly there. So they post a lot of pictures of like cats and dogs visiting, and I'm just like the world's biggest animal person, so I love that too.
It's almost like Whiskers up there in Newville.
Yeah,
they're dog friendly. Whiskers Brewing in Newville.
We typically do a post on our social media of as many like dog pictures at our participating breweries as I can find for like National Dog Day. And that's usually my favorite day.
So put a shout out to Bitch and Kitten to see, we have an idea that we can help promote them. They can come on our show.
Okay. We'll see.
Put
it out there.
We're Central PA now and beyond. So we'll record. We'll record with anybody.
Is it like what? I almost said Buzz Aldrin. That's wrong. Buzz Lightyear, like Central PA and beyond.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear is the one that landed on, walked on the moon, right?
Look, I should know this because, fun fact, my grandma, her roommate in college was Buzz Aldrin's sister.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Before, that was in what, the early 50s before any of that happened. So.
That's awesome. That is cool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that.
Both sides of my family, we got a lot of weird stories. So that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I got weird stories too.
My babysitters were Secret Service agents. So
if they tell you, they'll have to kill you.
Look, I was too young. I don't think I'd remember, but I do remember my bedtime stories were typically like what George Bush liked for a snack, like what he would ask people to make him for a snack. Loves peanut butter and marshmallow sandwiches.
Yeah,
That's not Jimmy Carter, is it?
No.
Elvis.
Oh no, his was peanut butter and bananas. Elvis.
Yeah, wasn't it bacon
Or
and
peanut butter, marshmallow, and bananas? Wasn't it?
something like that? He had
Something like
bacon in there too.
Yeah,
He was a big, huge fan of bacon.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Bush didn't like broccoli. That's for sure. I remember he made a big point of it.
Well, I should say this. So yeah, I would get stories about George W., but mostly the Clintons, because that's when we were living down there, and that's when I was a kid when he was in office. So yeah.
Boy.
Yeah,
Makes
a lot of weird
Oh.
stories.
Yeah. I don't get any more stories that make me feel old.
Sorry.
So where can people, if they want to participate, how do you advocate and advertise for participation?
That's mostly going to be done through our social media channels on Instagram and Facebook and our media partners. So another thing that is changing this year is that in addition to businesses, so our wineries, breweries, cideries, fermenteries, media partners can get involved, and so can sponsors. So for media partners, we have 2 different offerings, and again, this is going to be more detailed on our sign up page there. But what that is that if you are a beer or wine, digital or print or audio publication, you can choose to sign up to be a media partner, and depending on the option that you choose, your logo will be present on either our logo and our social media pages, any blog posts on our website, any events that we do. So there are different offerings for different media partnerships. But it's really, we put your information out there, we showcase your logo, and then in turn, again, depending on which one you choose, maybe you would write a blog post about our campaign and post that, or do a few social media posts about the campaign, just to help get the word out about it too. So that's going to be a big avenue that we go down. And then our sponsors as well. We have what's going to be 4 different sponsorship levels that businesses can get in on. And depending on the sponsorship level, obviously the deliverables would be different. So that's also showcasing your logo in different places, being featured on different websites and social media pages, having a speaking role in any of our events, and so forth. So we really tried to make the campaign this year open to as many businesses who wanted to get involved and help support as possible, but then we're also kind of helping to support them too by putting out their logo and showing their support.
Well, we are a not-for-profit business, so where do we fall into this?
So if you're I would consider you guys to be a media partner.
Okay.
Because you're not writing a blog post, but you're doing a whole freaking podcast. So I would say that would fall under the media stuff, and we can talk separately. But yeah, I would consider you definitely one of our media partners, and we're definitely going to post this and also say thank you for this, and for supporting us and giving us your time as well. So
how long does the program run for Hops and Vines?
great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So typically, the fundraiser would run the entire month of November. We had some businesses last year ask if they could also fundraise in December as a part of their charitable giving during the holiday season. So this year, businesses have the option to participate in just November, or in November and December. So there's no pressure to participate in both months. If you want to do November, that's great. But we just had a few want to fundraise longer. We thought we'd open that option up to everybody.
So for us, like we record and post later, we have a couple months that we can promote this, like October, November, December.
Oh, absolutely.
Recording. I'm gonna circle back to what you just said, which kind of goes back to the beginning. It's a shame that the only time a lot of people think of donating to help is around the holiday season. And what I've found with doing some of the other stuff with like New Hope and that, the most need is after the holidays, the beginning of the year, and throughout the summer. So this isn't just a one time and done. Think about the holidays, make me feel good that I'm donating around the holidays. This should be an all year thing to visit feedingpa.org and help this organization out 12 months out of the year, making every hour count and every dollar count.
Yeah, we really try to advocate for our neighbors as much as possible, as often as possible. So that's why a lot of our fundraising campaigns run during different seasons, is to help support our neighbors facing food insecurity all year long. We also have a government relations sector that helps to advocate for our neighbors at the government level, of making sure that they know the need of food in our state and that they pass legislation that helps to support that. So there is something for everybody on our website. So depending on if you want to volunteer and give time, just want to learn about food insecurity, want to get involved with any of our campaigns and events, they're all on our website. And you can reach out to me. I'm on there too. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. But if you think about food insecurity and someone facing hunger, typically you're not just going to not have a Christmas dinner, right?
Yeah.
Like there's going to be things that lead up to that. Or, I mean, I used to be a waitress, and as anybody who has ever worked in food service will tell you, after the holidays is when you need to expect to make the least amount of tips, because everybody has already spent all of their money on fancy dinners and gifts and what have you, that they're not coming out to eat, as a special thing. But we really do need to think about our neighbors all year round. And I mean, because it's summer right now, I'm going to plug a little bit a new summer EBT program called Sunbucks, which was just released, which is an extra, I believe it's $120 per child for summer meals this year going forward. So if you already receive SNAP benefits, you will, and you have a child who, is of age, they will automatically apply that to your SNAP benefits, that you get an extra $120, I want to say, per month, which is really beneficial, because you think about when kids are at home over the summer, they're not at school getting free breakfast or free lunch.
Yeah.
That's what they typically get. And then that's another stressor on your plate of maybe you were already working and living paycheck to paycheck, and now you have your kid at home and you have to now supply them with food that you typically wouldn't have to plan for during the school year. So that's a really great program that they just released.
As they get older, we know that gets a lot bigger.
Right.
Yep.
Because teenagers eat a lot more.
Yep.
I did see that on the website when I was doing some research. So I'm glad you brought that up and what that was about. I didn't listen to the videos and the announcements, but I did see that program. And it all stems back. This isn't, and it is a shame that everybody only thinks around Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's a shame. It's the only time people think about let's help those that are less fortunate 2 months out of the year. This is a 12-month, 365-day year that we ought to be helping everybody. On my fridge every day.
Sure.
Well, and we have actually September is Hunger Action Month. So for the entire month of September, across the entire country, food insecurity efforts, as far as pantries and food banks and associations, kind of everybody who has a foot in this is really trying to advocate for support to really make people see how big of an issue food insecurity is. And it looks silent because a lot of people try to hide it because they're unfortunately embarrassed about it. So it's not something that we all may see on a day-to-day basis if we ourselves are not food insecure, but we're really trying to bring that to the forefront during September, which I'll kind of segue into. If you, let's say you have a business or you have a membership organization or you're a member of something, a great way to get your membership involved with your organization and with giving back is we host donation campaigns on our website. So, for example, they're not going to mind me plugging this. PSCCU runs a fundraiser throughout the month of September for Hunger Action Month, where their members can donate, and then PSCCU will typically match those donations as an organization, and then that total will be dispersed to our food banks. So that's just a really easy way to get your members involved or get your employees involved in giving back. Because also, as far as the work goes, it's me just making a web page. It's not a lot of work for you guys. So that's just another way to get involved if you have an organization.
And any business can help with what your efforts are, right?
Absolutely.
Right now, this Hops and Vines, this is revolving around the craft industry, whether it's the beverages, but any industry can help with raising money to help your organization, Feeding PA, and see it help the efforts every day to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I said my information's on the website. You can reach out to me. I love ideas. I love crazy ideas, things that people might think are out of the blue. Like, I am not opposed to any fundraising ideas anybody might have that would, work out for both our organizations. So even if you don't feel like you fit into any of our fundraisers that we already have, I am all ears.
The only bad idea and question is the one you don't think of and ask.
Yeah. Well, I look as somebody who taught middle schoolers who don't think before they say anything. It is big for me to say I don't believe that there are any bad questions, unless the answer is in front of your face on the board. Then I just point and be like, "Please read. I know you know how to." But yeah, I'd love to hear from you in workshop. Huh?
I said you sounded just like a teacher right there.
Oh yeah, I don't think you lose it.
Yeah.
Never goes away.
I had a lot of that in college. Hey, just look right here. See?
So is Breweries in PA helping this year again?
That is something that we're talking about right now, and I'm just going to have this. I know we're recording the podcast, but this is just going to be off the record at the moment. We're not quite sure what their involvement is going to be this year, so I'm just not going to speak on that during the podcast because I don't want to say something that would end up being incorrect when this gets released.
Right.
Well, and I did put a ticker underneath there, and that's before I put it up again. I wanted to make sure because I know you mentioned PA Eats is involved as well. You guys,
yeah,
and I know
they've been involved since the beginning.
Right. So I wanted to ask.
No, I appreciate you asking. I just don't want to say anything that by the time this comes out, it'll be wrong. So,
well, and they were always forefront of posting this industry's news, no matter what it is. So, look, Erin, we've learned a lot just having you on today. Yeah. It's inspiring. I'm hoping we can take this story and make other people's inspired to not just help with the Hops and Vines, but with your other programs and throughout the year. And help feed Pennsylvania and those that are definitely in need of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, we are just here to help support everybody in any way that we can, and Hops and Vines is just one way to do it. But it's a way that I think is especially fun because we are getting the craft brewing community and winemaking community involved, and it's also fun to see what they come up with. I know one of my favorite things about Hops and Vines is always seeing what Fat Bat in Hanover does, because they do um,
Oh yeah.
guest
Bat.
bartender competitions. Typically, it would be every Friday night in November that they would pit guest bartenders who are, like local celebrities against each other to see who can raise the most in tips. And I also feel like I have to plug them because I'm from Hanover. But it's really cool to see what
Reach out
they do.
to Sandy. We need to have Sandy back on here.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
love Sandy.
That was a while ago.
That was our first season. We had we
Yeah.
reached out to Sandy, and we had Sandy and the brother and her husband on. That's going back almost 3 years.
It was the brother that did the can art.
He does all the birding and the art. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to reach back out and see if we can get her back on. Yeah, they do a phenomenal job with everything they do in Hanover. Yeah. Everything.
Well, and they're such a big part now of revitalizing the square in Hanover, and it's fun to walk by and always hear music, because you would never hear live music in downtown before. But it's just really cool to see that they really get the whole community involved by getting kind of like they said, local celebrities, or I know they've had local representatives, PA representatives there, guest bartending, and they'll get really competitive and try to outraise each other. So it's just fun to put your own spin on things. And I like seeing that from this perspective too. But obviously, we always want to outraise the year before. I'm super competitive, so I want to beat our total from last year. Yeah.
That's great.
And I should say, I remembered, when you asked how much last year was raised, so the $16,732 was raised by our businesses and our content creators. But when PSECU matched that, the whole campaign raised almost $32,000. So that's what we want to beat.
Yes. So we're going to put the challenge out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to do our part and try and help promote it as much as we can through our recordings here. We do have a couple of recordings that will right now get us through the end of October and November. We're going to see what we can do for you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And this was super fun.
Yeah. And I told you it would be fun. It's better in person, but it will always be fun.
No, and I feel like I always like an opportunity to talk anybody's ear off. But no, I again appreciate all of your guys' support and putting this out there and being a really big supporter of this. And like I said, we'll talk about the media partnerships. You guys are definitely in there somewhere. Absolutely. Yeah. And I will, like I said, I'm 99% sure that all these details are solidified. We just got to get one little thing tweaked. But I'll send those details out to you when they're official.
Good.
Dave, any last comments?
No, it's just it was fun, and I just have to applaud the fact that you're a music teacher, because
thanks.
I had I've done a lot of played a lot of different instruments.
You've sang a lot of opera?
Yes, I have, but it was nowhere where it could be recorded or anyone could hear it. So it kind of went wasted. When my forte for singing when I was in the band was mainly harmonizing. I did a lot of the backup vocals.
That's important.
Yeah,
and harder than people think.
It's harder than people think.
You didn't have
that
beatboxing.
I wasn't in that kind of thing. Believe me.
What did you play in bands? What instruments did you play?
I played bass. I was a bassist, and I also played guitar. And some of the other bands, I played guitar. And some of the earlier bands, and then the later bands, I played bass. And I kind of enjoyed them both. And I played trumpet also, but that was back a long time ago.
I will say I can only play guitar up to the level that I used to teach my 8th graders, and I would have to teach about 25 at a time. Which I do believe is a special kind of purgatory, but it was fun. Look, imagine 25 13 and 14-year-olds all playing guitar at the same time. One of them has to have it backwards or upside down. I'll never forget this. I once had a kid, we were playing as a class, we were playing a song, and as I said earlier, these kids never think about anything before they say them. So he was narrating what was happening as it was happening. I didn't know if he knew that he was talking out loud, but we're all playing as a class. And he's like, why is my arm wet? Wait, why is my guitar wet? Is that blood? Why am I bleeding? And he like had this cut that he
Holy
was swiping across the body of his guitar, just like a swipe of blood. And we're all still playing, and he's just still saying this. That was the first time I ever had to sanitize a guitar.
Like you said, there's all kind of stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
He was
for sure.
he was the guitar hero. Remember the song? It's where he said
Oh.
he practiced till his fingers would bleed.
Yeah, this wasn't his fingers bleeding, even though that did happen a few times where my kids would be like, I can't play, my fingers hurt. And I always give them the spiel of like, yeah, it's gonna hurt till you grow calluses, and the more you practice, because we had steel string guitars, unfortunately, but it was fun, interesting.
Yeah, that's the tough part about being a teacher.
Yeah. But it's, again, I like a good challenge, and that for sure is a challenge. Brett, I know you said that you work with organizations that raise money for veterans, and that you also have a writing club. Is that motorcycles?
Motorcycle. Yep.
Did you ever do any work with oh my gosh.
Roots for Boots for the
No, PA Wounded Warriors.
No. Our sister group in Harrisburg worked with the Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors. We do a lot with the Roots for Boots campaign and for the love of a veteran. So the three organizations that we help out are New Hope Ministries in Hanover, really. My church helps out the New Hope in Dover, and then the Roots for Boots and for the love of a veteran.
I was just curious because when they had first started PA Wounded Warriors, Steve, who started it, was like my dad's best friend. And they did a Memorial Day ride every year in honor of his son, who was a Marine. Yes. Jeremy.
Yes, we help out, and actually we donated, our club bought a honor and remember flag for Jeremy Redding, and we presented it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago at the Memorial Ride. We raised money, and we gave him this honor and remember flag with his son's name on it.
That's really sweet.
That was they leave the South Hanover Mall.
Yep.
It's a ride, and it ends up at Jeremy's tomb. So yes,
and
we have helped
cemetery.
that. We participated with that, but that PA Wounded Warriors, we don't participate with that.
No, I was just curious because I know it's a small world, and when we first started that ride, I think for the first 3 years, I would always go with my dad. Like, I grew up on a Harley, so I would ride on the back with my dad for the whole ride, and then when we would end up in the cemetery at Jeremy's grave and the American flag, I would always sing the national anthem. But that was something that my dad is always really passionate about as a retired Marine.
We all do that. Yeah, all of us. I'm a veteran. Kevin, our participant, who I said, "Where's Kevin?" Because he's traveled a lot for his work. He's a veteran. Dave was supposed to be a veteran, but he got lucked out on the draft, so he didn't get the golf card.
What branches, if you don't mind me asking?
Kevin and I are both Army.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we won't even go there with your jarhead dad.
No, it's okay. Look, I get it because I was born on base at Fort Belvoir, and I was raised only by Marines. Like, we didn't grow up around any of my family, and everyone I consider to be my family are former or retired, I should say, Marines. So I know.
I get this a lot from my Marine friends. Army ain't ready for the Marines yet.
Oh my.
Well, they have like an acronym for every branch of why they're not as good or whatever.
We love participating with anything that has to do with raising money. And as a motorcyclist, and you said you grew up on a Harley, for those who hate motorcycles and you see big lines of motorcycles going down the road, steer clear and give them their way, because usually 99.9% chance it is a fundraising ride for something beneficial, whether it's feeding the hungry, whether it's a veteran ride or to help a homeless shelter or something like that. 99.9% of these motorcycle lines that you see that take up a lot of space, block traffic, are for charitable fundraising events. So give them their space and let them have their fun.
100%. And if you don't give them their space, my dad will cut you off and block traffic.
Yep.
Yep, that was always his job. But I will say, yeah, I grew up on a Harley. Like we have pictures of me like balancing on it when I'm a baby. And my dad has always been involved with writing organizations, and you couldn't meet a group of nicer, more caring people.
The motorcycling community, it's kind of like the craft industry community. Yeah. If you're an outsider looking at them, you got blinders on because you got a misconceived perception about them. Mm-hmm. Most of the folks are very generous and the friendliest people you're going to meet.
Absolutely.
Bad ones. There are some. There's bad in every part of life.
I would say there are bad apples in every basket. So.
Yeah. So if Steve and your dad, you say they're best friends or friends?
Yeah. So Steve officially retired a few years ago. We used to live like less than a mile from each other, and they moved
South Carolina.
Down south. Yep. They moved down south, and we haven't seen them as much. But yeah, Steve and my dad were best friends. Actually, Steve and his wife, Kath, love Kath, used to be, I guess, like teen advisors for this church in Gettysburg that I would go on like mission trips with them in high school that my parents wouldn't go. It would just be like, go with Steve and Kath, bye. I mean, I remember exactly where I was when Steve called and said that Jeremy had passed. So
next time you talk to them, say, okay, look, I met the guy that they presented you with an honor and remember flag.
Okay.
And you can throw my name out. I don't know if he'll remember. He should. we presented him, and it's a pretty big deal because we got his name, Jeremy's date, name, and rank all on the flag and presented it. So that hopefully he's still flying it, or maybe he's not flying it to preserve it. But
I was gonna say it is being cared for and respected somehow. Whether he's choosing to fly it or like display it in his house, he is so grateful for all of the people who continue to keep Jeremy's memory alive and who continue to fight to get supports for people who are experiencing PTSD from being in the services. So he could not be more grateful.
Yeah, and that's where For the Love of a Veteran helps. They help with the soldiers that are experiencing PTSD. Mm-hmm. For Boots helps those who are. They do a lot of track chair donations to those veterans that are incapable. They're wheelchair bound. So I don't know if you've ever seen a track chair, but it gives them full mobility in and out. So
there's another charity that's not motorcycle based, but the guy who runs it is my godfather, and he also grew up on motorcycles. But it is a charity where they have special boats that are built to accommodate any handicap you could possibly think of. And they invite veterans and their families on boating and fishing outings on the Potomac for free. It's called Veterans Fishing Adventure. It's out of Alexandria, out of the DC area. And they do a lot of work in the greater DMV area to raise money for veterans and for that charity to help take out veterans and their families on trips for free. And the memories and the photos that you see from those trips are just, they're absolutely priceless. I mean, there are a few veterans who were able to get on that boat very shortly before they passed for, health reasons or age or what have you. And that's some of the last memories that they have with their families. And it's just a really great charity that was actually started by my godfather's daughter, who started it in high school. And yeah, Haley Moore, shout out. She started this and her dad kind of helped support as the adult. But she's like, Dad, I think this would be a great idea just if we did this. And she is now out of college as an EMT and still running the charity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Erin, I tell you what, this has been a fun, educational, and inspiring, one of our more inspiring ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for the time.
This is great. We were happy to get you on here. So tell us one last time who you are, where they can find you, and all the other stuff that you got going on.
Sure. So my name is Erin Hafke. It's spelled odd, Haafke. I'm the community relations manager at Feeding Pennsylvania, which is feedingpa.org. It's up at the top here. And you can find all of our programs on that website at feedingpa.org. You can follow Hops and Vines for Hunger on Facebook and Instagram at Hops Vines Hunger PA. And you can follow Feeding PA on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X at Feeding PA.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I appreciate this very much, Erin, and we're happy to help whatever we can do to spread this word, not just for the coming months, but for all 12 months, and see if we can break the number this year that you put out there. And people, let's help and support our fellow Pennsylvanians in any way possible by participating with the Hops and Vines for Hunger or anything that Feeding PA has to do. I know you don't have I'm kind of empty though, but normally we cheers out with our cheers beer. But if you're out there, we're going to just cheers out with whatever we got, and mine's empty.
Yeah. Clink.
So, Central PA Poor, if you're out there, let's raise a glass with Erin Hafke and Feeding PA, Pennsylvania, feedingpa.org, and Dave and myself, the CPP crew, and let's all be bonded by beer. Cheers.